You'll never believe how much money we just spent on a van.
How much did we spend?
$80,000.
Sort of.
Kind of, maybe? Not really. I guess we didn't spend all the $80,000.
And
What?
not only did we spend that much, but it was an accident the day before it was going to be delivered.
Fair.
I'm Connor,
I'm Marissa.
and together we're...
Carissa.
Damn, I did it again.
Oh my god.
I keep forgetting. We're leaving it in. Yeah, so we bought a new van. We showed it off in a previous video, and as some of you have commented, they're not cheap.
No.
A converted vehicle typically is about 80 grand.
I was like, base
New.
price.
New.
Base price,
Yeah.
brand new, 80 grand.
Yep. There are only a few models that you can get. And we got one of the cheaper ones for $80,000. When you are trying to get these covered, most insurances don't cover them. Personally, I went through my state's Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. Their whole shtick is trying to make sure that disabled people can work.
Have gainful employment.
Have gainful employment. So helping them find jobs, helping them find
resources,
any sort of equipment they might need to stay employed. Because of my job, I have successfully made the argument that I need reliable transportation. One of my job duties is going to job sites. So, if there's a project on, say, a beach or a dam, I have to be able to get there.
And public transportation doesn't always get you there.
No, and Uber Wave doesn't either. So they agreed to convert a vehicle for me. That process started, what, a year ago?
Yeah, probably a little over 12 months.
Yeah. So the way this process goes, at least here, once you get approved and you choose, let me back up. Once you get approved, they assign you essentially an occupational therapist whose job it is to basically figure out what your accessibility needs are, which for us meant going to a dealership that dealt with accessible vehicles with this OT, and he was kind of like, here are your options. What?
I think first he looked at what we currently had.
True.
Just to make sure that either one for one we're, either getting what we currently had. And he also asked a bunch of questions, just being like, what do you need out of it? Does this meet your current needs? What do you envision you might need it for in the future? That kind of stuff.
Yep. So once he wrote, I guess, the prescription.
Yeah, that's the best way I could call it.
For what we needed, which for us was a passenger side, I guess, wheelchair converted van.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think even in the prescription, he had to write the vehicle type, because there are obviously different models and brands that you could get.
There's only a few, though.
There's Honda, Chrysler, Toyota.
But was it sort of not?
Chrysler at the time when we were first getting this prescription written was not, they had a pause on manufacturing. So we could go with a Chrysler, but they did inform us it would be at least a year because of their pause in manufacturing. Right.
So once he writes the script, it went out for bid. The OBR's policy is they need 3 bids, and obviously the lower bidder gets the job. The way it works with OBR is they will pay for the conversion, but not the vehicle itself. So as a
Yeah, I was gonna say, so in terms of obtaining a vehicle, you have a couple of different
yeah,
options. They have requirements. The conversion company itself has requirements for the type and year of the
I
vehicle.
don't think that's a conversion company.
You don't think? You
I
think
think
it's
it's
a
OBR.
OVRs?
Yeah, I think
It
they.
might be.
Yeah,
So like you could obtain your own vehicle from whatever source you'd like to obtain your own vehicle, bring it to OVR and the conversion company, and then 6 months later or whatever the time frame is, I don't really know. You would get back your vehicle that you took them along with the conversion to it. Or you can kind of go the path that we chose to
Mhm.
go down, which is the company who won our bid basically just buying the vehicle from the conversion company.
Yeah. And it originally for us was vulnerability. Um, there's really only two.
Yeah, they said VMI and then
Yeah.
BraunAbility.
Although I don't think VMI is VMI anymore. I think they like rebranded.
Vantage or like
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, I don't think it's VMI anymore. You're right.
So we have vulnerability. Company that won our bid. Do you want to tell them?
Is Ameriglide, which the first thing I think of when I saw that was like the in-home chairlifts.
Yeah.
So it was.
That's the thing everyone thinks of. But they won our bid. So we were, as soon as they won our bid, I received a call from their
Rep.
rep who said, "Hey, this is what, like maybe October
I would even say a little
25,
earlier. Yeah,
September
somewhere.
25. He said, hey, we won your bid. What were you thinking? Did you bring us a vehicle? Do you want to buy a new one?" And we said, well, we think we'll buy a new one. So he said, well, great. We actually have in stock a
Already converted Toyota Sienna 2024
XLE.
XLE. So it's the middle, like the one up from base model. Which we were really only looking for the base model. It just had the necessary things,
I mean, that's what a prescription was for.
Yeah, our prescription was for an LE. And so he, is like, so at this point, 2025s are already in stock, so to speak.
I mean, yeah, it's September 2025.
So he's like, we can get you a good deal on this 2024. So he brings it out to us. We're like, that's really not what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Like, we really, it's already a year old at this point. Like,
but if he was going to give us a discount, we would have considered it.
And so he did provide us a quote for that, which it just really wasn't, we weren't feeling like
I think it was more
than what we ended up paying right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were thinking that, like, we would have paid, whatever 2025 LE price was.
Yeah, MSRP if you were to walk into a dealership.
But because it was XLE, even the 2024 was more than a 25 LE. So we were like, no. So we were like, just order us a
2025.
Yeah.
LE like we asked for.
So that's what he did. He ordered us a price of about 40,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we waited. And we waited. And we waited.
Actually, no, I was the car person. I'm the car person in the relationship. So I was like, wait, hold on a second. I'm a smart nugget here. I was like, you know what? Like the 2026s are actually out as of late 2025. That's when they introduced the new year of vehicle. So I was like, can we just get a 2026? And he was like, BraunAbility hasn't converted any 2026s yet, so no. I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, no, he didn't say no. He just said
he doesn't have access to them. We would have to wait another X amount of months. And we were like, timing really wasn't working out. We'll just end up going with the 2025. So like you said, we waited. We're now into 2026 at this point.
Yep.
And we get a call.
It's like February?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get a call. We're like, your 2025 is in.
Yep. Like, great. So keep in mind, we were not, we're not rich, so we don't we couldn't pay for it. And uh, they were willing to finance it for us, but I actually got better financing through our bank.
Our
So,
local bank, yeah.
so yeah. So the way that process works is you go to your local bank, you take out a loan, they give you a
Physical
essentially a
check.
cashier's check for $40,000 that you're then supposed to give to the dealer. So we did that. We scheduled a delivery.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be delivered on Wednesday, I think.
I think, yeah. I mean, we both had to take off of work to be able to
Yep.
be here for this event.
Yep. The day before we get home from the dealership, uh, I guess they took it to get detailed and were in a hit and run accident with a brand new converted vehicle. So, of course, they were like, well, it's only minor damage, purely cosmetic. We're gonna get fixed. We're not reporting it to our insurance, so it won't be on the car tax. We'll give you a discount. So we're like, okay, how much? What are they? I think
Like $300.
no, it was like 2,000.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
It was something. Really wasn't worth the cost that it was going to be in the unknowns, I guess.
Yeah, so they were trying to sell us a brand new converted 2025 with an accident for $38,000.
And I mean, I guess
To be fair, they were getting 40 from OBR, so really 78,000.
yeah. I mean, really, I guess the moral of the story is like we advocated being like, no, like we're not taking something that has a history with it. And it took weeks going back and forth,
Well,
basically.
and then when we said no, they didn't fight that. They said, all right, we'll get you at 2026, but it's going to be another $4,000 from the 40 that we agreed to because
It's now at 2026, and we were getting late 2025 pricing. Like there was, discounts associated with the 2025 that we were getting according to our dealer.
Yeah. So we basically said no, like
you're upcharging us for something that wasn't our fault,
Yep.
and just passing the cost on to us. Like, unfortunately, no. Like, so I mean, we even went back to OVR and we're asking what our options were, because as a person who won the bid, like they kind of have the upper hand, so to speak.
I was gonna say they have you by the gonads. You can't really walk away.
So we were just asking OVR just what our options were. If we were to proceed, if we chose not to, what that whole look like.
And keep in mind that sometimes we have a check for $40,000
tied to which auto loans are tied to the VIN of the vehicle.
Yep.
If you didn't know, which we didn't know.
Yep.
So auto loans are tied to the VIN of the vehicle. So this is now the VIN of the vehicle that has been in an accident. Additionally, in order to OVR to hand over their portion of the check,
they need insurance.
They needed insurance. So now we had insurance and a check for a vehicle that we don't currently have possession of that has been in an accident.
And we're not going to take possession.
So
we had to undo
all of that.
All of the loan, all of the insurance. Get the new vehicle, which then took
another 2 to 3 weeks.
A month.
A month, yeah.
Yeah. Well, wait, at this point it was March, so BraunAbility had already
started converting 2026s. Yeah. So we were like, awesome, sweet. I feel like we were one of like the first people with it off the lot, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah.
So long story short,
we got 2026, but 2025 price. But it was a headache and a half. Hey.
Also an adventure.
Yeah. And Marissa hates it.
I don't hate it. Okay, maybe I hate it a little bit.
You literally just made a video about how much you hate it.
This is painting me in a bad light.
Nothing can paint you in a bad light. And it's your turn well, the OBR puts a 5 year wean on it, so we can't like because they gave it inversion. They don't want us just turning around and selling
Selling
it
it.
6 months later and make a profit, which fine, I get it. Um, they'll pay for a new money in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's why we have the 2013 Dodge Ram Caravan that was done about, well,
2013.
yeah, I think in 2014.
That
But
probably sounds
yeah,
about right.
um, so in 10 years we'll get a new one, and
We'll be a little smart about this
yeah,
next process.
hopefully it'll be a little smoother. Uh, but so for those of you out there that want a accessible vehicle but think that they are out of your reach financially, like there are resources out there. OVR is just one of them. Uh, every state has an OVR. They are called different things in different states. So, I would search whatever your state is and then, you know, vocational rehab and it'll probably pop up. Uh, I think Medicaid, I've heard some people say Medicaid, others, some conversions. I know Braun actually has a decent lease program.
Yeah, we heard about that when we
Yep.
were in Hawaii.
Yeah.
From our dealer that was renting us the van there, they said if you actually contact Braun, they have like it sounds like a reasonable per month
Yeah.
to like lease a BraunAbility van, which we were like kind of surprised at because
Yep.
we didn't even know about that.
No.
They were like, if you're not sure what year you want to go with or something like that,
Yep.
like you can always just like lease it out and just kind of see,
Yeah.
what's available.
So yeah, if you need help or any resources, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would love to help.
I mean, we're by no means experts,
Sure.
but
But
I feel like us trying to navigate the system has provided us a little more
yeah,
insight,
for sure.
just to be able to either relay what we did in our local area and, like either you can kind of mimic that concept or just like, we're pretty good at sleuthing ourselves.
Yeah. But thanks for watching and do you want to say
And catch you on the flippy flop.
get to the
Okay, you're on.
I just wanted to build a bit of B-roll. Can we show everyone exactly what was on my lap for the entire process of filming this video? This is what I had to deal with for the entire video. But at least she didn't up on me. So there's that. Goodbye.